Evendale Police Department and has dedicated 34 years of his life in the police service. And whereas in the course of his career at the Evendale Police Department, he received 68 letters of commendation and appreciation from the public, his peers, supervisors, area chiefs, and due to his work on serious felony cases, including the double homicide, letters of commendation from Hamilton County Prosecutor's Office and an Ohio State Representative and a Hamilton County Common Pleas Judge and a federal district attorney in Florida. And whereas on his exemplary service throughout his career in Evendale, Mayor Finan and the Village Council found it appropriate to promote him as an assistant police chief, as a rank not utilized previously since 1985. And whereas he was instrumental in the creation and function of the Accident Reconstruction Team and the Evendale Police Department Honor Guard. And whereas he shares this honor with his wife Ann, his children Brent, Alec, and Carly. And whereas in appreciation, it is appropriate at this time to recognize Assistant Police Chief Stephen J. Niehauser for his many years of time, care, and devotion while employed as a village employee of the Village Police Department employee, and for his service to the village. Whereas, and now therefore, I, Richard H. Finan, Mayor of the Village of Evendale, on behalf of the Village Council, fellow employees, residents, and business establishments of the village, offer sincere thanks and appreciation and best wishes to Stephen J. Niehauser on his retirement.
For giving me the privilege to work here. Like I've always said, Evendale's a special place. I also want to thank Chief Neil Cordy. His leadership on the department, I've worked alongside Neil and I've worked for him. I value my work relationship with him. I value my friendship with him much more. He's a great leader, and this night is about him. And in terms of the members of the department, especially the ones here, all I can say is, guys, and Tina, all of you, Jill and Pam, I love you guys, and I want to also thank my wife, Ann. She's here, so it's been a long week, and we've celebrated a lot, but this is Neil's night, and I'll turn it over to them. Thanks, Mayor.
Appreciation of Police Chief Neil C. Cordy for his years of service in the Evendale Police Department. Whereas he was hired on July 11th, 1992, and loyally served the Village of Evendale Police for 30 years, and was retired on June 14th, 2022. Whereas he has served the Village of Indianapolis as a police officer, Hamilton County as a probation officer, and the Village of Evendale in the capacity of patrolman, sergeant, and chief of police. And whereas, in addition to his roles at the Evendale Police Department, he has served as treasurer of the Hamilton County Police Association, president of the Hamilton County Association of Chiefs of Police, and secretary of the Shield of Ohio. And whereas, in his career, he's been recognized by his supervisors, peers, and his subordinates as a model of professionalism, humility, and service. And whereas he has received dozens of letters of recommendation and appreciation from his supervisor, peers, fellow law enforcement officers, and the public at large in the course of his career, many of which, in keeping with his humility, were never shared. And whereas he shares this honor with his wife Terry, his children Maggie, Justin, and Zach, an appropriation of this time to recognize Neil C. Cordy for his many years of time, care, and devotion while employed by the Evendale Police Department and for his service to the village. Now, therefore, I, Richard H. Finan, Mayor of the Village of Evendale, on behalf of the Village Council, fellow employees, residents, business establishments of the village, offer sincere thanks, appreciation, and best wishes to Neil C. Cordy for his retirement.
I'm going to take a little, I apologize for the rudeness of having my back to you, but
There's more of them.
I'm going to need this. First and foremost, my thanks to Kim for allowing us to pivot from the shelter. There is a saying that divine providence puts you in a place for a reason, a season, or a lifetime. In this case, in my family's case, all three hold true. For those of you who were around 29 years ago, you understand what the reason was and why, after 29 years, I still cling to my sentiment. The reason has become many seasons and based on fresh friendships and relationships a lifetime. I started in Evendale in 1992. Steve Niehauser had followed me to Indianapolis, and I, in turn, followed him here. I am confident that Chief O'Malley could have easily overlooked me as one of the over 350 applicants had Steve not put in a good word. Chief O'Malley then introduced me to Mayor Apking and the council hiring committee, including councilperson Dave Harwood. I appreciate Mayor Apking and the council giving me the opportunity to be a police officer here. It is a fulfillment of both the seasons and the lifetime. All of their retired officers here tonight, as well as those who have called me in the last few days, have had some sort of influence on my career and, importantly, my life. Again, my need for brevity precludes me from mentioning you all individually, but I thank you and I value our relationships, past, present, and future. A while ago, Chief Al saw some potential in some of his younger officers, and he tested us, promoted us, sent us through some great schools and training, and gave us guidance. I was fortunate enough to be promoted to chief in 2009, again under the authority of Mayor Apking and several of the current council persons here tonight, Mr. Albrink, Mrs. Smiley Robertson. I'm extremely grateful to all involved. Make no mistake, as I have said before, my appointment was no more than serendipity. I am quite confident the other supervisors applying for promotion could have fulfilled this role. I was extremely privileged to be selected as chief. I was privileged at the time to be joined in the swearing-in ceremony by an incredible group of lifelong friends. I thank you for your love, your support, and your friendship over the years of this journey. As a newly appointed chief, I was able to step into two organizations by virtue of membership, and formally and informally, I was mentored. Within the Hamilton County Association of Chiefs of Police and the Hamilton County Police Association, both veteran chiefs as well as the contemporaries in these organizations have been there to exchange ideas, concepts, pitfalls, and successes. I am forever indebted to them, and I am proud to have served with them. Again, There's too many of them to mention, and I rest on the knowledge that if you received an invitation or you are here, you have my gratitude and appreciation. Obviously, the promotion to chief requires an administrative role that is new and different from the normal and familiar police work. In keeping with the theme here, I was fortunate to walk in a situation of support and friendship. From those in the office 13 years ago to those here today, were I to share just a few of the stories, the laughs, the quips, the quotes, the commiserating from all the lunches and bottle exchanges and yoga lessons and counseling sessions, I would be here all night. Again, I trust you know who you are, and again, you have my everlasting gratitude. The privilege of being chief has continued under the leadership of Mayor Finan. On Tuesdays, a parade of department heads go to his office to discuss our various issues and needs. Inevitably, with me, after we had finished our work discussions, our conversations branched out into books, history, politics, leadership, and current events. The conversations have been wide-ranging, informative, humorous, and contemplative. I sincerely appreciate the leadership he has provided to the village, the police department, and to me. I also want to extend my sincere thanks to the residents and the business owners who have reached out in the last couple of weeks to say goodbye and good luck. My mission here has always been to provide exemplary service to the village, and I am grateful to know that it has been, at least in some ways, acknowledged. I want to thank my fellow department heads and department head meeting attendees. Obviously, the police department works most closely with the service and fire departments. Chief Mike Houck and I have shared time in our respective offices, coordinating, contemplating, debating, learning, and sharing. Thank you, Mike, and the rest of your department. While we'll miss trading barbs with you at the chamber dinner, I am quite confident Chief Holloway will be able to keep up with the banner. The police department has benefited from our relationship with the service department and the director, James Jeffers. I especially appreciate the way James left me off the hook for all the bud ice I owed to Bo, so thank you for that, James. Whether it be him or his crew, their efforts on our behalf are recognized and appreciated. Another fixture from my last 12 years as chief has been our law director, Tim Burke. Tim, I understand why you are taking on less and less in these days. Were I in your shoes, I wouldn't want to break in a new chief either. You have my unending gratitude and friendship for the many years of patience, steady guidance, sage advice, and lawyerly humor, despite my best efforts to throw you off your game. I would also be remiss if I didn't mention all the time and effort two other persons put into the police department over the last years here. In the 12-plus years I have been chief, we have gone from a largely paper-generating agency to a digital one. We would not have been able to do this without the support of Bill Meckley and Rannon Shaw. The amount of time they spent in the PD bringing us into the digital age practically qualifies them as police officers. Although I agree, we all agree, Bill would never have passed the psychological exam. My thanks to you both. In my tenure, I've only had two committee chairs, John Rands and Carolyn Smiley Robertson. I have personally and professionally benefited from my association with them both. John, of course, is known for never letting slip the opportunity of turning a conversation into a debate, and we have had some good ones. I look forward to more on Tuesdays. And Carolyn, our conversations were always frank. Our disagreements were never disagreeable. And your desire and insistence to the village having the best police department we could has made us and me better for it, and I thank you. Lastly, my two families, my wife, Terry, my children, Justin, Zach, and Maggie. I got them in order that time. All of us in police work know the rigors of shift work, and while I haven't done this in quite a few years, there may have been a few Saturday or Sunday mornings when we are all a bit younger. And maybe, just maybe, my patient wasn't as quite as it should have been, and I wasn't quite the husband or dad I should have been. I thank you for your forbearance, and I love you. Finally, to my police family. About a month ago, while council was interviewing for my replacement, one of the first questions to be asked was, what is the most important role as a police chief? In an aside, Councilman Burke asked me my answer to that question, and I immediately and unequivocally answered that the most important role as a chief is to hire great people. I know that Chief Holloway will be a good chief, not due only to his innate talents, but because if there's one credit I will give myself, it is that I have made sure I have had the foresight and the fortune to present to the mayor and council great people to hire. From the bottom of my heart, from Pam and Jill to the most senior officer to the most junior officer, thank you. Thank you for making me look good. Thank you for your commitment to the village and to each other. Be safe. Godspeed. Thank you all.
We have two things, one thing apiece, to give to each of you that we hope, as you look at them, will remind you in the future of your service to the village of Evendale and the great respect that the Evendale has for you. If you care to open them now.
Wow. I'm going to guess that is a Rookwood tile.
Yes, exactly correct.
Inscribed on the back. Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Council. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Mayor.
I know the mayor would like us all to sit here and listen to the first, second, and third reading of the new ordinances. I'm going to overrule him just once. The flex room is over there. It is in the back of the rec center. I think Mary's at the desk. She will point you that way. So please, there might be a drink or two and some food. So thank you all.
Good to see you.
Thank you, Tim. Okay, we'll now proceed with our calendar.
Chief Mouse was here.
Maybe we won't. Okay, the minutes of the previous meeting have been distributed. Is there any additions, corrections, or changes? If not, may I have a motion to agree with the minutes?
So moved. Second.
Have a sec. Who made the first?
Steve.
Steve.
Mr. Burke?
Yes.
Mr. Albrink?
Yes.
Ms. Smiley Robertson?
Yes.
Mr. Sextro?
Yes.
With that, I will go to the Finance Committee report.
Yeah, Mayor, good news. I know we were speculating, holding off on giving the positive report on finance until we got the May receipts in, and I'm pleased to report that it was a very good month, 1.985 in receipts to 836,000 to expenses. Obviously, a positive number. Year to date, we are up year over year by over $1 million. We are receipts over expenditures, most important, is over $2 million. So all very positive. Everything's moving the right way, and the indicators are that it will continue.
We hope so.
Still proceed cautiously,
We're
but
still proceeding cautiously.
it's
for
still each month more and
another
more
month.
positive news, so better than month-to-month negative news.
That's exactly right.
May 20th, a few weeks ago, this is the rec report, we honored the memory of Ron Cutter by designating Field 3 as the new Cutter Field in honor of his memory and dedication to maintaining the fields and the recreation department as a whole. Several people attended that. The pool, unlike what we've heard in the news, several pools around the city are not staffed. In fact, some are, for the city of Cincinnati, are not even opening. We're proud to announce and happy to announce that our pool is fully staffed and running under normal hours. And so that's all very positive. Also, things are returning to normal after a few years off. We have 189 signed up for summer camp, 205 for swim team. So all those numbers are back to, if not at, but approaching record numbers from years prior to COVID. So all positive sign with rec, and that things are returning to normal in that area.
Mike, I would also acknowledge the fact that we were very courteous to our neighbors,
Yep.
Sharonville, during that.
Sharonville's
problems.
pool was down, and so we did allow them to use, especially during the first week of swim season, we allowed them to come down and utilize our pool for certain periods, so.
Thank you, Jeff.
The Gorman Farm, just continue to announce the big events throughout the year. Row by Row dinner scheduled for August 20th, so now that we're in summer, as officially as I guess a week from now, but that's August 20th, so mark your calendars for that event. Sunflower Festival is October 1st and 2nd. Something new that they're introducing is it's a Fall Farm Fun Fest, in that every Saturday and Sunday in October after the Sunflower Festival, from 9 to 3, they're going to have wagon rides, pumpkins, sunflower picking. So really an ability to enjoy the farm beyond just that one weekend. So if you don't make it on the 1st or 2nd, or even if you do, certainly there are other weekends in the fall leading up to Halloween and such that you'll be able to enjoy the farm and everything it has to offer. Also, the Harness Club through the farm is, they're raffling off tickets, $10 each or 3 for $20, for an opportunity to have you and your, I think it's a dozen, so you and 11 of your best friends ride in the Montgomery Independence Day Parade. So the city of Montgomery and their 4th of July parade, you can get a bunch of your friends and ride along. I don't know if Chuck will be driving.
Well, I'm not sure he will.
Yeah, but anyway.
Somebody will be driving it.
I hope. So that's there. Also, hours in June and July, weddings, there's a few weddings that are scheduled, so at the farm, so just call before you go down on a couple weekends, so there may be those limitations due to other events scheduled. The service department, finishing up plannings, hopefully everything in the municipal grounds will be all ready to go for the 4th. That's just an ongoing effort. Recycling, we had another great recycling day. It's amazing year in and year out how much garbage we tend to collect. This year we had 14,000 tons of paper, 15,000 of electronics, household chemicals. The total tonnage is 47,000, down from the COVID year of 2020 when everybody cleaned out their house, but certainly up from last year and a few other prior years. So continues to be a good event, and We expanded it this year to allow for tires, and we got several old beat-up tires that were dropped off. So all positive. We're all in the right direction. That's all, Mayor.
That's it. Any questions, comments? Okay. Ms. Carolyn Smiley Robinson?
All right, I'm going to start with fire. I just want to remind everyone that the Chili Fest is tomorrow from 11 to 1. We're going back to pre-COVID method of handling Chili Fest. So please participate. The only other thing I want to mention from fire, there's an ordinance on the agenda where we're looking at increasing the amount of overtime compensation to firefighters and police officers who work on July 4th. So that's fire. Police, since we've just shown that our chief and our assistant chief are outgoing, and the new chief and the new assistant chief have created openings so for sergeants. So now we're starting on that part of the process, and later this month the internal testing processes will go on for that, and we'll be doing interviews in August with the idea of promoting in September's council meeting. So that's the plan for that. As far as, I should have said this before when I talked about the 4th of July, the race is back on, and so the usual route is closed, but in addition, Reading Road is being closed from 8 to 9:30. Is that correct?
9:30 or 10.
9:30, 10, when the race is finished. So people need to plan accordingly that's going to happen for the 4th. Okay. Also, we'll be using the drone program on the 4th. So everybody, training has occurred, and we'll be ready to do that on the 4th. And wanted to mention also that on the police cruisers, Ford is no longer accepting offers on any vehicles, so we'll be purchasing, our intention is to purchase Chevy Tahoes instead, which is going to be more expensive on the front end, but when we finish using them, then we should get more on the resale, and we're hoping that that's going to balance out for us over the course of the life of the vehicles that we have. And also I want to say that Chief Holloway shared with us that in light of the incident in Uvalde, wanted to assure us and residents that our police department is well-trained as far as active shooters are concerned, and our policy is to engage. So I just wanted to make sure, in light of things that you may have heard on the news, what we're doing. We're also planning as a committee to go through that in a little bit more detail so we understand what our procedures are, and we'll do that in July or August and give feedback to the rest of council. Okay. Building and zoning, there were the rezoning of some of the St. Rita's property and the zoning text changes came before Planning Commission last month, okay. And that from a code enforcement, we're obviously looking at grass violations. One property we've had a certified letter to, a business property over behind, I'm gonna forget, the Crossings Shopping Center. So I don't know, did we get a response back of any indication on that property? Yeah.
Not as of today, no.
Not as of today, okay.
We're planning to cut it shortly after the expiration, which I believe is June 22nd.
Yes, okay. So you should be aware that that's afoot there. And then cultural arts is busy, continues to be busy. Wine tasting was sold out as usual. 96% of residents were in attendance for the last wine tasting event. Rather than go through all the events that are upcoming, I'm going to refer people to the website this month to find out about the various programs. Summer camps are underway and are well-attended, and Susan is also planning for fall classes and events now. The call to artists have gone out for the photography event that will be held this fall. And in terms of usage of the Arts Pavilion, there are a lot of music recitals and dance recitals that have been going on and using the facility. You may have heard that we were having some issues with the air conditioning. We're working on that. We're trying to get some new lighting installed before the end of this month. And the last thing I would like, and we're looking at a new sound system, hope to have a decision made on that by the end of this month too, about which direction we're gonna go on there. And also, Susan attended a meeting, the Blink event is coming back, and they're looking for partners for their parade. So more to come on that later. And that's a report.
Any questions, comments? Okay. The mayor just has a couple of things. I want the people of the village to know that we are taking safety, the 4th of July, very, very seriously. And the safety committee is meeting regularly to develop the plans. You're going to see more of the village parking spaces blocked off, but we want to be able to be in a good position with all that's going on in this country. I think it bodes for us to be prepared and be active and not reactive. I also want to note that we had a conference call, a Zoom call with the governor in the last 2 weeks about the gun range again, and his agent came down and toured the gun range with us. He referred to it as a dump. We'll see if that gets us any money. And then today we had a conference call with the Chancellor of Higher Education of the state of Ohio. And this was on Cincinnati State and Miami University working together to put the center into the Aero Hub development. It's ways to go, and we requested money, so we got an A for our presentation, but we didn't get any money today, so we'll see how that goes. That's the extent of my remarks this month. Anybody, questions, comments? Okay, then let's go to our ordinances. And the first ordinance we have, we'll have second readings or first readings. We cannot do anything to eliminate the second and third reading because we don't have a quorum of at least 5 people. So we're on short rations tonight. The first ordinance is 22-45 for a second reading, and I ask permission to read it by title only.
So moved.
Second.
Ms. Smiley Robertson?
Yes.
Mr. Albrecht?
Yes.
Mr. Sextro?
yes,
Mr. Burke?
Yes.
An ordinance amending subsection 1266.09, parentheses H, close parentheses 1, open parentheses B, close parentheses, open parentheses 2, close parentheses, accessory uses and structures, fences and walls, and declaring it as an emergency. Next, we have ordinance 22-46. I'd like permission to read it by title only.
so moved,
Second.
Mr. Sextro?
yes,
Mr. Albrecht?
Yes.
Ms. Smiley Robertson?
Yes.
Mr. Burke?
Yes.
Ordinance amending section 258.057, overtime of the Code of Ordinances of the Village of Evendale, and declaring it as an emergency. Next, I have ordinance 22-40, We just did first reading.
Don't we vote on allowing it to be read first?
Oh, I didn't mention that.
To be read in title only.
Yeah.
Read by title only. Okay, so motion to read it by title only.
Please give me a motion to read it by title only.
So moved.
Second.
Mr. Albrecht?
Yes.
Mr. Burke?
Yes.
Mr. Sextro?
Yes.
Ms. Smiley Robertson? So-
Yes.
Already done that.
Yeah, I know.
Next is ordinance 22-47, and I need permission to read it by title only.
So moved.
Second.
Mr. Burke?
Yes.
Mr. Albrecht?
Yes.
Ms. Smiley Robertson?
Yes.
Mr. Sextro?
Yes.
An ordinance authorizing the mayor to enter into an agreement with the Ohio Plan Risk Management, Inc. to provide property and liability insurance with the assistance of Highland Administrative Services for the Village of Evendale and declaring it, Village of Evendale. Our policy expires at the end of June. We are not going to have a council meeting until July. I think we're going to have a special council meeting between now and July. So when we find out, we notify our other two. If you want to pick a date now for that council meeting,
I'm out the 25th through the 30th.
Let's just do next Tuesday.
I'm okay
How's
with
that?
that.
is that okay?
I don't know.
I'm not sure, I think Councilman Putoff will be back then, but I don't know about Councilperson McDaniel. But that would give us 5. Okay, let's tentatively set it for next Tuesday at, we'll do it at 5:15? Is that okay with everybody?
Yes.
Bill doesn't get off work till 5, so I think you have to go 5:30.
5:30? 5:30 then?
Yes.
Is that the 21st?
21st.
And we may have a couple of other things that come up in the meantime for that. Okay, we've taken care of that. Now we have ordinance 22-48, and I need permission to read it by title only.
So moved.
Second.
Ms. Smiley Robertson?
Yes.
Mr. Albrecht?
Yes.
Mr. Sextro?
Yes.
Mr. Burke?
Yes.
Ordinance authorizing the mayor to finalize and enter into a gas aggregation agreement for gas supply services for a fixed term and fixed rate that is competitive with Duke Energy gas supply rates and declaring it as an emergency. That'll be the first reading. As you're aware, our deal with Constellation Energy, is that correct? Constellation expires at the end of June and end of May. No one, they cannot compete with Duke's rate right now. And so we would like to go into a new agreement with Constellation that would allow them, if a rate agreeable to us comes up during that time that they can negotiate, then we'd be in a position to execute and be able to handle that rate. If nothing comes up, we're not going to do anything. We're not going to do anything. Okay. Next is ordinance 22-49. I'd like,
Or is this one that's, we're going to try to deal with next week?
you mean the gas aggregation? Yeah. So that'll be 2 ordinances on for next week. 22-49, ordinance approving the hiring of Timothy M. Burke as special counsel to the village and declaring it as an emergency. We have a number of issues that Mr. Burke has been working on, but he officially ended his tenure, and he is going to function as a special counsel for us on the issues that are coming before us, specifically the rezoning of Landmark and St. Rita's. So that'll, we can probably do that on the 21st also. Next is ordinance 22-50. An ordinance I'm sorry, I need permission to read it by title only.
For Tim Burke's ordinance, Mr. Burke's ordinance. Okay,
So
motion.
moved.
Okay,
Mr. Sextro.
Yes.
Mr. Albrecht.
Yes.
Ms. Smiley Robertson.
Yes.
Mr. Burke.
Yes.
done that. Ordinance 22-50. I need permission to read it by title only.
So moved.
Second.
Mr. Sextro.
Yes.
Mr. Albrecht.
Yes.
Ms. Smiley Robertson.
Yes.
Mr. Burke.
Yes.
An ordinance authorizing the payment of amounts due upon certain contracts requiring certification of availability of funds and declaring it as an emergency. That's our then and now ordinance. Next, we have ordinance 22-51. I'd like permission to read it by title only.
So moved.
Second.
Mr. Burke.
Yes.
Mr. Albrecht.
Yes.
Ms. Smiley Robertson.
Yes.
Mr. Sextro.
Yes.
An ordinance authorizing the mayor to hire seasonal employees and setting pay rates and declaring it as an emergency. We may want to do that at our special meeting also, so that we can, I'm told by the clerk that they can work for us for 45 days without the ordinance going into effect.
Mayor, it would be my suggestion, we do all of these next week. Otherwise, we're just going to pile up for July, and we
That's
might as
true.
well just take care of them. Why leave 3 or 4 and just take care of all of them and just do them all?
You're right, you're right. So we'll plan on doing those on the 21st, if we can get our people back. I'm presuming Bill will be recovered by then.
Should be.
But I just don't know about Councilperson McDaniel, because she did not say when she'd be back. That's all I have. Is there any other business come before the council tonight? If not, can I have a motion to adjourn?
Moved.
Second.
Mr. Burke.
Yes.
Mr. Albrecht.
Yes.
Ms. Smiley Robertson.
Yes.
Mr. Sextro.
Yes.
Now declare this council meeting adjourned.